It was a thrilling start to the first ever Formula One race at Portimao, with a wild first few laps that involved an appearance from Carlos Sainz at the very front as the Mercedes duo struggled to find heat in their tyres. However, this would not last for long as the Mercedes pair retook the lead, with Hamilton passing Bottas and then cruising to the finish to take his 92nd win in the sport, making him F1's new record holder for most wins ever. Here's our winners and losers from the Portuguese GP. Without a doubt the biggest winner of this weekend, Lewis is comfortably on the way to his 7th World Championship after his brilliant win in Portugal. A difficult first lap from the Brit allowed Valtteri Bottas to take the lead before Sainz would overtake both, but this would only last for 6 laps as the Mercedes drivers swept around the outside of the Spaniard. Bottas held off Hamilton until lap 20, when the 6-time world champion mounted an attack and passed the Finn along the start-finish straight before charging clear to open up a huge advantage despite suffering from a cramp in the final few laps. Hamilton finished over 25 seconds ahead of Bottas in the biggest winning margin of the season to move 77 points ahead of his teammate in the championship battle, an edge ever closer to equaling Schumacher's record of 7 world titles. Another weekend to forget for Valtteri Bottas. After a strong start to the weekend by taking a clean sweep of all practice sessions, Valtteri looked the man to beat ahead of qualifying. A misstep in his qualifying strategy saw Bottas miss out on pole position, earning himself a start on the dirty side of the grid. The Finn made up for an initial poor getaway by passing Verstappen and Hamilton with some bold driving, but that was swept aside by Carlos Sainz before he would then catch up to the Spaniard to overtake for the lead of the race. But Valtteri's winning hopes would come crashing down as Hamilton caught him, leaving the Finn with no pace whatsoever to keep in touch. Sergio Perez was a man on a mission today. A decent start for the Mexican was cut short after an incident with Red Bull's Max Verstappen saw Checo spin off the track and move to last place. Thus began his incredible journey to the pointy end of the grid, with the Mexican moving as high as 5th in his recovery drive. He was unlucky not to hold on to 6th as the late charging Carlos Sainz caught him, leaving Checo with a solid 7th place finish. It will be a crime if the Mexican driver is left without a contract next season after proving his worth again in Portugal. On a weekend that Alex Albon needed to go well, sadly only the opposite occurred. After qualifying 6th, Albon was always going to have a battle to get close to his teammate Verstappen up in 3rd. The start didn't go to plan for the Anglo tyre driver, who was overtaken by both McLarens and Renaults after struggling to get off the line with the tyre temperatures. From there, it went from bad to worse. Albon dropped back to 11th, got stuck in the midfield train and suffered with issues with graining and tyre wear. A weekend that Alex didn't need, and certainly places more pressure on the young driver as he heads to Imola in another race to fight for his future. Contender for driver of the season has to be Pierre Gasly, who continued his redemption streak with a brilliant race. After experiencing a fire in his AlphaTauri during the Friday practice sessions and given a new chassis, Gasly was on the back foot for qualifying, only taking 9th. For the race, Pierre proved untouchable, unlocking the magic on his softs to keep them alive and subsequently moved to the front of the grid. After a mighty battle with Sergio Perez in the closing stages of the race, Gasly was able to take home a super 5th place finish. Lance Stroll made his return to Formula One in Portugal after missing the Eiffel GP due to illness, later to be revealed as COVID-19. The Canadian had a nightmare of a return to racing, crashing with Max Verstappen in a Friday practice session and again in the race after making a wild move on Lando Norris into turn 1. This resulted in a 5-second time penalty for Stroll, which was repeated when he was also penalised for breaking track limits. He subsequently would retire from the race due to the damage suffered from the crash with Norris, ending a truly terrible weekend for his side of the garage. A special shout out must also go to Kimi Räikkönen, who had a bonkers first lap that took him from 16th on the grid to 6th. Insane stuff from the Iceman. Who was your biggest winner and loser from the Portuguese Grand Prix? Are you impressed with Lewis Hamilton breaking Michael Schumacher's record? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Crash F1.